So today we're going to talk about our abdominal aorta. So let's do it this way. Sorry. So what we have said so far was we had the heart. Of the heart, we have this part of the aorta, which we could call all it would be thoracic aorta, which we have divided it into the ascending aorta, we had the aortic arch, also known as arch of aorta, and then we had the descending aorta. Right. Okay, guys. Now, before I continue, any questions about the thoracic aorta? Its branches, further branches, its further branches, its further branches, then anastomoses, etc., etc. Yes, guys, if anybody have any questions, it's now to ask. Good. We then can say that around level T11, or some books even as okay, say T12, is going to be as okay where your aorta passes through is okay what we call the aortic foramen, and continues into the abdomen. Okay, so that's going to be as okay what we call the aortic, oh sorry, the abdominal aorta. Okay, it is still the aorta that continues, but now since it's on within the thorax, no sorry, abdomen, we will call it the abdominal aorta. And your abdominal aorta is going to just, okay, finish off at the level L4, pretty much by bifurcating or splitting into, or we respectively can call this, okay, let's say the left and the right. But these arteries are going to be referred to as the common iliac artery. So you're going to have a right common iliac artery and you're going to have a left common iliac artery. Clear? Okay. Just as we said yesterday, that we had a common carotid artery. And we had a common carotid artery. Okay. So you see that, okay, as the name or the term common applies here. So you should be as okay, somehow as okay, be able to know what happens to this common iliac artery later on. But that's something that we'll talk about tomorrow. Okay. So this part here is okay. That's going to be our abdominal aorta. Extending between, that's okay, T12 or T11 to L4, where it finishes off by bifurcating at the level of L4 or the 4 lumbar vertebra.
Sorry, did you say it starts from T4 or C, or what did you
No,
say?
it starts from T11 or T12. Okay,
Okay,
the abdominal
thank
part.
you.
But it finishes off at lumbar vertebra L4
Okay.
because that's when it's going to split into 2. Okay, so today we mainly is okay going to focus on yes okay what happens or what's going to be yes okay the structures that'll get their blood supply from bigger or smaller branches that branch off the abdominal aorta. Okay. Now, guys, the way that I tend to do it, here we say that, okay, yes, abdominal aorta, now as the name tells you, okay, it's mainly as, okay, going to be responsible for supplying blood to mostly as, okay, structures in the abdomen. Okay. But when we look at, okay, as how these branches here are going to be, yes, okay, and rising, we can say it's okay. There's going to be 2 types. Yes, it's okay. One is going to be what we'll call eared branches. Okay. And the other one is going to be unpaired branches. Okay. Now, guys, when we say paired branches, what do I mean? Most likely it's okay be paired as right and left. Whereas we say unpaired branches, well, okay, yes, there's no pair. There's no right or left. Okay. Now we just start from the top. Pair branches mostly as okay will be we can say, okay, the renal arteries. Okay. Of the renal arteries is going to be, okay, what we call the suprarenal arteries. We're going to have what we can call the gonadal arteries. Okay. Then they're going to be, okay, what we can call lumbar arteries and some sacral arteries. Okay. Not necessarily as okay, simply paired by as okay, there's going to be as okay. The first part of our first set of arteries arising off the abdominal aorta is going to be what we call the inferior phrenic arteries. Okay. Now their origin may as okay vary slightly as okay from person to person. In some people, as okay, you'll find that they arise directly off the abdominal aorta. In some instances, okay, you may find that okay, these arteries here arise from one of our unpaired arteries. If you look at the renal arteries, it's pretty much obvious as to what they will supply. They supply blood to the kidneys. Suprarenal arteries. Now, suprarenal arteries, that was the kidney. Supra will just be about the kidney. What do we have on top of the kidney? The adrenal glands. Now, gonadal arteries mainly as okay supply blood to the gonads, which we in the male said was the testes, so it can also be referred to as the testicular artery if it is a male, or in the female as the ovarian artery. Lumbar artery mainly as okay, we can say as okay, wall of the abdomen. The muscles and things like that. Okay. And so it's okay for the sacral. Inferior phrenic arteries. Now, if you guys recall what I said, okay, one of the last branches of your thoracic aorta was what we call the superior phrenic arteries. That mainly as okay were supplying the diaphragm. Okay. So The reason that we have, okay, as a superior in its name here, because there's also going to be, as okay, word V, now know would be the inferior phrenic arteries. But they mainly, as okay, arise off from the abdominal aorta. Okay, have we not had the inferior phrenic arteries, then they would just be labeled or named as phrenic arteries. Okay. Have we not have had the superior phrenic arteries, then okay, yes, these arteries will just simply called the phrenic arteries. Okay. So what they mainly supply, phrenic is mainly as okay, there's going to be a fancy word for pertaining to the diaphragm. So this fellow here mainly is okay, is going to supply the diaphragm. Now, guys, your unpaired arteries. And here there's mainly going to be 3 unpaired arteries. Now, the first one is going to be, as okay, what we call the celiac trunk. Second one is going to be what we call the superior mesenteric artery. And last one is going to be the inferior mesenteric artery. Did you guys get that?
Sorry, is that MESAT?
No, it's MESENTREC.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, guys. Now, if you recall, when we were talking about the digestive system, I said that just okay, the alimentary canal or gut, as we called it, could be divided into 3 parts: foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Now, those of you who, yes, okay, remember it from that time, hallelujah, because it's going to be very simple. Just okay, then understand what these blood vessels here are going to supply. Because celiac trunk mainly is going to supply foregut. Although, yes, okay, will be, yes, okay, some other organs. Another organ And it's okay. Some glands. Where we say superior mesenteric artery, mainly yes, okay, was going to supply blood to the midgut. And inferior mesenteric artery, mainly was going to supply blood to the hindgut. Okay, now what was your foregut? Mainly as okay, your stomach and the first 2/3 of your duodenum. What was your midgut? The last 1/3 of the duodenum, all of the jejunum, all of the ileum, cecum, ascending colon, and the first 2/3 of your transverse colon. What was the hindgut? Last 1/3 of the transverse colon, the descending colon, the sigmoid, and the first 2/3 of the rectum was your hindgut. So that's pretty much okay what was going to be supplied respectively by for celiac artery or celiac trunk, sorry, superior mesenteric artery and inferior mesenteric artery. Okay. But the reason that I say it's okay unpaired because you're not going to find a right and left celiac trunk. You're not going to find, okay, as a right and left superior mesenteric artery. You're not going to find a right and left inferior mesenteric artery. These are mainly as, okay, just 1, 1, 1. Did you guys get that? Any questions? Yes, guys. Or is that clear? Good. Let's see. Okay, guys, now we're going to start talk business. Now this is going to be, okay, what we call the aortic foramen, through which is, okay, the abdominal aorta is going to enter. Okay. And please, as okay, we can say, okay, at T11 or T12. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the person's body, that is okay, yes, thorax and abdomen, right? You can see we have diaphragm. Okay. This is right. This is left. And we can say it's okay. We had the heart, the aorta branches. And okay, go down. So if we look at a mid-sagittal line, the aorta is going to be more on, that's okay, entering on the left side. Now guys, just here, what we mean is okay, also we have in this area here is going to be your stomach. So, okay. We can also say it's okay, we will have the duodenum. And this is all of our duodenum. We also, yes, okay, here at the back have the spleen. In this big area here is going to be, yes, okay, your liver. And here is going to be your pancreas. Does that make sense? And as we know, sorry, that your aorta is going to be retroperitoneal, so it's going to run up against, that's okay, the posterior abdominal wall. Mainly so that's okay, it's only going to be covered by peritoneum on its front side. Okay. Did that make sense? Now, the first thing that we said was that, okay, this fellow gave off here is okay. What's vertical cord is okay. The inferior phrenic arteries. But let's not talk about those anymore because we got an important structure to talk about. And that's going to be the first branch of our first important branch of our abdominal aorta, which is going to be the celiac trunk. And we mainly will say, okay, that's going to arise off from the level of T12. Okay, so you can make this, okay, pretty much, okay, as at the very origin of is, okay, your thoracic abdominal aorta. That's going to be, is okay, where this structure called the celiac trunk is going to arise from. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what the word celiac actually is, okay, is going to mean is belly. Now, what I already just said was that this artery here is okay, mainly was going to be responsible for supplying blood to is okay, what we call the foregut. What was the foregut? Pretty much okay, as what I have demonstrated here. So your stomach, all this says okay, this is all the just okay duodenum, but we can mean is okay, see, well, okay, just the first 2/3 part of the duodenum. Okay, and this is going to be as okay, your pancreas, your liver, And yes, okay, although yes, okay, the spleen is not part of your alimentary canal, but it's going to, yes, okay, still receive blood from your celiac trunk. So you can say foregut plus, yes, okay, let's say spleen. Okay. And if you want to say, okay, yes, pancreas and liver. Now, guys, another thing that I said was that when you hear the word trunk, two things to remember. First of all, there's no question about it. Yes, okay, this is going to be, yes, okay, an artery. Okay, and when we see artery, what would I mean? Mainly as, okay, a blood vessel that's going to supply blood to structures. Those structures are here. Okay, but the reason that they don't call it a celiac artery, but rather call it a celiac trunk, because another thing that we said was about trunk was that, okay, it's going to give off, it's going to be, it's okay, a bigger or smaller artery, but it's going to, it's okay, give off further branches. Okay, so your celiac trunk, if you look at it and say, well, okay, this here is your celiac trunk. Now the celiac trunk is going to give off a total of 3 branches. Did you guys get that? So your celiac trunk is going to give off 3 branches. Now, probably that's okay. One of the most important, or that's okay, one of the important things here is that 2 of these 3 branches are going to be left. Where it says, okay, this was our abdominal aorta. This is the right side. This is going to be the left side. So 2 branches that the aorta, or yes, okay, the celiac trunk is going to give off are going to be left branches, which mainly mean that they go towards the left side. One and 2. Well, yeah, I mean, it's okay, just put 1 and 2 because we're going to give the names here. So 1 is going to be, as okay, what we'll call the left gastric artery. Did you guys get that? The second branch, or the other left branch that the, what do you call her? Celiac trunk is going to give off is going to be what we'll call the splenic artery. Okay. So 2 of the 3 branches were left, where we can mainly says, okay, the other branch that your celiac trunk is going to give off is going to be right. Okay. Now this 1, 2, and 3, these are not official numbers. Okay, nobody's going to say what's the first branch given off by the splenic or celiac trunk. What's the second branch? No, that's just okay. So we have okay, yes. Okay. And what do you call this artery here? That is going to be referred to as the common hepatic. Did you guys get that? Okay. So the branches of our celiac trunk are 2 left branches and 1 right branch. Okay. The left branches are left gastric artery and splenic artery. The right branch is common hepatic artery. Did you guys get that? Okay. Now let's just try to look at all this. So ladies and gentlemen, if you see that this here, now this thing here is going to become pretty crowded. So please follow along as I talk. This is our abdominal aorta. Yep, okay. Let's do it this way. This is the stomach. Now this is going to be as okay, our first 2/3 of the duodenum. We can say here is okay, do we have the spleen? We can say is okay, yes, this here. Is your pancreas. Which is okay, is okay, is going to be okay, your liver. And okay, yes, and the liver is going to be it's okay, the gallbladder. Now, guys, in all this, you said the celiac trunk. Now, what the celiac trunk gave off was left gastric artery. I may have to leave it lower. That's fine. So that's going to be the left gastric artery. And just so you guys are not confused, in our diagram here, this is going to be the right side. And this one here is going to be the left side. Let me just correct this. It's probably not going to show right now. It's rather. Like this. Now, what your left gastric artery will do, if you look at it, well, okay, the reason that we call it left, okay, mainly it's okay because it's a left branch of your celiac trunk. Okay. But what you actually will see is that, okay, yes, this one here is okay, runs along the lesser curvature of the stomach. So you can say it's okay, left, lesser curvature. Maybe not be the right sheet. Okay. What it mainly is okay will be doing up here, for instance. That's okay. It gives off. You can say it's okay, branches to the lower end of esophagus. Okay, and what do we call these branches? Nothing more but esophageal branches. Did you guys get that? Yeah, okay. So your left gastric artery, okay, was a left branch of, okay, it's your celiac trunk. Okay, which means, okay, goes to the left, runs along the lesser curvature of the stomach. Okay, runs along the lesser curvature of the stomach. And mainly as, okay, just give off, okay, as some branches up here to the lower end of the esophagus called esophageal branches.
I have a question.
Right, yeah.
I know when we were talking about the descending aorta, that gave off the esophageal artery. This is completely different though?
But my dear, where do you have your esophagus? The soft part of your esophagus, or most of your esophagus runs in the thorax, right?
Right.
Okay, good. So as it runs in the thorax, it will need blood there too, right?
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
two separate areas.
Exactly.
Okay.
So these are just small, because a little portion of your esophagus enters into the abdomen. Okay, through what we call as, okay, the foramen hiatus. Okay, and then yes, okay, meets with the stomach. So that part of the esophagus that is in the abdominal cavity. Okay, will receive, yes, okay, its blood supply from esophageal branches here, which means, yes, okay, are arising off from the left gastric artery. Clear? Okay. Did you get that yet?
Yes.
Good. Now, guys, another left artery or another left branch that was going to, okay, arise off from your abdominal or from the celiac trunk is going to be what we call the splenic artery. Okay. Splenic artery. Now, two things about the splenic artery. Let's just see. First is, it is the longest branch of the celiac trunk. So out of the three branches that is going to, okay, arise off from the celiac trunk, the splenic artery is going to be the longest. Okay. Now, initiates, okay, when it goes off like this, right? What remains is, okay, it's going to, okay, it goes left, but it's going to, okay, travel behind the stomach. And actually has, okay, as pretty much, okay, as tortuous course like this. So it's not going to be straight, but rather going to be, as okay, in big waves like this. But mainly as, okay, as the name tells you, supplies the spleen. Did you guys get that? Now we can also say it's okay that it's going to run behind the stomach. Now the behind the stomach mean, yes, okay, can also be translated into be, yes, okay, retrogastric. So initially it's okay, it runs like this, but then it runs behind the stomach. Now two things, well, okay. So we call it as, okay, the splenic artery, well, okay. It's obvious from that name that it's going to, okay, mean, yes, okay, be responsible to supply blood to the spleen. Is that clear? Okay. Now what we also see as it runs more and more towards the left to reach the spleen, it runs just okay about just okay the tail of your, most of the body and tail of your pancreas. So what it actually is okay will be doing at this part here, it's going to give off branches like this. that's going to supply the pancreas. So on its course, as it runs behind the stomach, it's going to be running as superior to the spleen. And in that course, it's going to give off branches to supply the pancreas. And what are these branches here going to be called? Pancreatic arteries. Yeah, okay. So pretty much, if you guys recall, yes, your circle of village yesterday, that, as we had the basilar artery. We had the basilar artery running by the pons, and mainly it's was then just going to give off branches to the pons that we call the pontine arteries. So likewise here, it's as your splenic artery takes its course, while runs behind the stomach, mainly it's to take blood to the spleen. But on its way, it's also going to give off these branches that will supply blood to the pancreas, just called the pancreatic arteries. Did you guys get that? Yes, guys.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Not yet.
Not yet. Good. Let's see. Now, guys. Last thing that your splenic artery will do. Let's just erase this. That's another thing that your splenic artery will do. Splenic arteries. This fellow here, he's doing a lot of things. Now, gives off a branch. And this branch is going to run along the greater curvature. That runs along the greater curvature of the stomach. Now you guys can see why I asked you guys to be sure that you know what the greater and lesser curvature were, right? Okay. And what do you call this fellow here? Now hold on to And this artery here is going to be called the left gastro epiploic artery. Yes, guys. Any questions?
No.
So far is celiac trunk good?
So far, it's making sense.
Okay. Now, guys, the last artery of the okay, that's the last artery of our celiac trunk is going to be as okay, the right one, and we call that one the common hepatic. And that was mean it's okay, the only artery that was going to it's okay, take more of the right course. Okay. Now, as it do so, now the things are going to become a little bit hefty. It's going to yes, okay, give a branch instead of this, which we'll call the gastroduodenal artery. Did you guys get that? Yeah, okay. Now this gastroduodenal artery is going to give off two branches. Now one is going to be what we'll call the right gastroduodenal epiploic artery. It's going to come like this. So we can actually say, okay, at this right gastroepiploic artery is going to anastomose with the left gastroepiploic artery along the greater curvature. Did you guys get that?
That's running behind the stomach as well.
That's going to be running behind the stomach, yes, Maria.
Okay.
Now, another branch that this common hepatic artery is going to give off is going to be, okay, what we will refer to as the right gastric artery. Common hepatic. Common hepatic artery is going to give off what we call the right gastric artery. And that's going to run along the lesser curvature. And as well, anastomose with the left gastric artery. Right, okay. So you can say right and left gastric artery will anastomose together. The right gastroepiploic artery and the left gastroepiploic artery will anastomose together. Your left gastric artery was a direct branch of the celiac trunk. Your right gastric artery was a branch of the common hepatic artery, which itself was a branch of the celiac trunk. Now, the right and left gastroepiploic arteries would anastomose along the greater curvature. But your left gastric epiploic artery was a branch of the splenic artery, which was a branch of the celiac trunk. Your right gastroepiploic artery is a branch of the gastroduodenal artery, which itself is a branch of the common hepatic artery, which is a branch of the celiac trunk. Now, just a cheat to remember which, oh yes, okay, where does one, which of these arteries here run. So he says, okay, if you look at the word gastric, versus the term gastroepiploic. Now, gastric is a smaller name. Says, okay, along the lesser curvature. Whereas, okay, the gastroepiploic is a longer name. So that's okay, agree the greater curvature. Now, ladies and gentlemen, so when you look at the word gastroduodenal artery, we may say, well, okay, yeah, okay, along the greater curvature of the stomach. Because it's not only going to run, it's also going to, it's okay, supply blood to the stomach. So the gastroepiploic or the gastropart or the gastroepiploic means, okay, explain why this branch of your common hepatic is called a gastroduodenal. But what about the duodenal part? Now, ladies and the gentlemen, yes, okay, I know this may become a little bit crowded now. But so this is actually just okay, going to give off another branch as well. That is okay, will explain the duodenal part. And this artery is going to be called the superior. Pancreaticoduodenal artery.
Sorry, you said the gastroduodenal artery gives off the superior pancreatic?
Superior pancreaticoduodenal artery. Okay, so pretty much okay, yes. A branch that's going to run something like this. So what will it be doing? Supplying blood. So yes, okay, that first 2/3 of the duodenum and also gave off branches to the pancreas. Did you guys get that? As a matter of fact, well, okay, this will end up in as okay, what we call anterior and posterior branches. But don't worry about that much. Just think of okay, yes, we have a superior pancreatic duodenal artery. So what is that you should be prepared for that? That's going to yes, okay, at some point be another artery called the inferior pancreatic duodenal artery. Okay. But this one here is okay, mainly is responsible for, you can say it's okay, supplying blood to, yes, okay, that first 2/3 of the pancreas. Oh, sorry, duodenum, which is part of your foregut. And randomly also supply blood to the pancreas. Did you guys get that?
So then would you say that technically it gives off 3 branches if you're including the the superior pancreatic duodenal artery,
Wait,
right?
what do you mean 3 branches?
Well, earlier you said it gives off 2 branches, the right.
No, common hepatic. You can say it will give off 2 branches, the right gastric artery and the gastroduodenal artery. Did that make sense? Your gastroduodenal artery then further gives off the right gastroepiploic artery and the superior pancreatic duodenal artery.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time, please? I know you said the common hepatic artery gives off a branch called the gastroduodenal artery,
Yep.
which then also gives off 2 branches of its own.
No. Common hepatic artery gives off 2 major branches. The right gastric artery. That means is going to run off along the lesser curvature of the stomach, and it's the most with your left gastric artery. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Good. The other branch that it gives is the gastroduodenal artery. Yeah, okay. Now, you can mean this again, why do we call it the gastroduodenal artery? Now, the gastro part, or in its name, pretty much okay, is because it's going to give off the branch called the right gastroepiploic artery. Okay. Now, this right gastroepiploic artery is going to end up running against the greater curvature of the stomach. And anastomose with its left counterpart, the left gastroepiploic artery. So that pretty much explains, yes, the gastropart and its name. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
But why do we call it a gastroduodenal? Because there's also going to be, some part of the duodenum. So what this gastroduodenal artery is going to do is give off a branch called the superior pancreatic duodenal artery. That means is going to supply blood to the duodenum, or that first 2/3 of the duodenum, which is part of your foregut. And we can say the adjacent parts of the pancreas. Did you get that, dear?
I think so. So just to make sure I understood it correctly, your common hepatic artery gives off the 2 major branches, which are the right gastric artery and the gastroduodenal artery.
Exactly.
And then stemming from your gastroduodenal artery is the superior pancreatic duodenal artery.
Yep.
And the right gastroepiploic artery, which is anastomosis with the left gastro.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem, dear. But we're not done yet. Okay. Because what remaining I say is, let's choose another color. Okay. Okay. Common hepatic artery mainly is just going to continue further. right, and it should become as okay what we call the hepatic artery, or actually we can call it the proper hepatic artery. Proper hepatic artery or hepatic proper artery. Okay. Or okay. Now what this proper hepatic artery here is going to do is going to give off two major branches. The right hepatic artery and the left hepatic. Okay. And what your right hepatic artery will do is going to give off branches to the gallbladder called the cystic artery.
I think I lost you real quick. Do you
Yeah.
mind repeating what you said about the proper hepatic artery?
Okay, listen.
And where is that stomach?
Okay, let's start. Okay. We had the common hepatic artery. Clear? Okay. Now the common hepatic artery gives off two main branches. Right gastric artery, anastomosis with the left gastric artery, and the gastroduodenal artery. Clear? Gastroduodenal artery gives off two branches, the right gastroepiploic artery and the superior pancreatic duodenal artery. Yes, I know that word maybe is okay, a little bit of a mouthful, but if you look at it, it's just saying it's okay, pancreas and duodenum. Clear? Okay, so the names are pretty much okay as very, very explanatory of just okay what they supply. Yeah. Now, that common hepatic artery, because it's like after giving off these branches, mainly as okay, we just continue further, but now we just call it the proper hepatic artery or the hepatic proper artery. Both names are correct. Okay, now if you look at the word proper hepatic, properly going towards the liver. Did that make sense? So that proper hepatic artery is going to mainly give off two major branches. Right hepatic artery, left hepatic artery. Right hepatic artery mostly going to just okay towards your right lobe. Left hepatic artery towards the left lobe. Did that make sense? So medius, okay, supply right lobe and left lobe of the liver. Clear? Now, what your right hepatic artery also does is it gives off a branch called the cystic artery. And if you look at the word cystic pertaining to bladder, now what bladder do you have by the liver? Is going to be the gallbladder. So that's mainly going to be the artery that supplies blood to the gallbladder called the cystic artery, which branches off the right hepatic artery. Clear? Okay. And now you can just go backwards and say, okay, cystic artery off the right hepatic artery off the common hepatic artery of the celiac trunk of the abdominal aorta. Or if you want to start abdominal aorta, celiac trunk, right? That's okay. Common hepatic artery, hepatic proper artery, right hepatic artery, cystic artery. So an easy, measy, easy way of, okay, as writing all these things here is, okay, if you make a spreadsheet. I think that's the easiest way to just, okay, try to do this. I know it's okay that a picture like this, that's okay. Become, yes, okay, a little bit crowded. But yes, if the Lord was able to make this anatomy, then okay, yes, we should be able to look at it as well. So how is the abdominal aorta going?
For me personally, it started off well, and then my brain just went.
Boom. Okay. Now listen, guys. Can I give a good news?
Always.
Always. Okay, good. The good news is that, okay, this was probably, okay, the toughest part of your abdominal aorta, the celiac trunk. Okay. So what's going to be coming up next is mainly, okay, just peanuts. Now, what could be the bad news? A lot of
On the
things.
test? Is that the bad news? Is that the bad news? It's on the test?
Oh, yes.
No, that is
But then the
bad.
good news is that I already warned you. So warned you, or yes, okay, informed you. So, but it's not that hard. It's okay if you take it from one point. That's okay. Tick, tick, tick. Let me just go to yes, okay, to the end of this. Then I check the next. Check this to the end, and then check this to the end. And which of those ends will meet? Clear? Okay. So celiac trunk, 3 major branches: left gastric artery, splenic artery, hepatic artery, or common hepatic artery. Clear? Okay. Right now, sorry, left gastric artery and splenic artery makes a left. Common hepatic artery makes a right. Did you guys get that? Okay. Now, left gastric artery, shortest artery. We can say, okay, runs along the lesser curvature of the stomach. Gives off the esophageal branches. Gives off esophageal branches. Of course, it's also going to supply blood to the stomach along the lesser curvature. Splenic artery, longest artery of the celiac trunk, or longest branch of the celiac trunk, goes left. Have this tortuous course as it runs behind the stomach, mainly as okay, progressing towards the spleen. Okay. On that journey, it's going to be lying as okay, right about the or superior to the pancreas. So I'm going to give off XYZ number of branches to the pancreas called the pancreatic arteries. At its end, before entering into the spleen, it gives off a branch called the left gastroepiploic artery, which will run along the greater curvature of the stomach. Okay, did that make sense? Now let's go to the right branches, or the right branch, the common hepatic artery. Okay, now common hepatic artery gives off two major branches. Your right gastric artery, which is going to run along the lesser curvature. Okay, and anastomose with his right or with his left counterpart, the left gastric artery. It also gives off, or the common hepatic artery also gives off the gastroduodenal artery, which further branches into two branches, one being the right gastroepiploic artery, running against the greater curvature of the stomach, and anastomose with its left counterpart, the left gastroepiploic artery. That gastroduodenal artery also gives off another branch called the superior pancreaticoduodenal artery. Did that make sense? Clear? Okay, and that's going to supply blood to the duodenum and the adjacent areas of the pancreas. Not all of the duodenum, the first 2/3 of the duodenum, because that was what was part of the foregut. Now, if we just continue on with, okay, as our common hepatic artery becomes the proper hepatic artery, travels towards the liver, gives off right hepatic artery and left hepatic artery. Clear? Okay. Where the right hepatic artery gives off another branch known as cystic artery supplying Mr. Gallbladder. So that was your or you want to call it your celiac trunk. Its branches, and branches. And okay, yes, some of the anastomoses.
I have a question. So the left gastric artery, it runs on the greater curvature, not the lesser?
The left gastric artery is along the lesser curvature there.
Runs
the
along
left
11
gastroepiploic artery is going to be along the greater
Greater.
curvature.
Okay.
Okay, guys, look here. Let me see. Can you guys see this picture here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you look here, well, this gray structure here, that's your abdominal aorta. This is your celiac trunk. And the blue fellow here, that's your left gastric artery along the lesser curvature. This green fellow here, but okay, it disappears here mainly because it runs behind the stomach, is going to be your splenic artery. Okay. You may see as okay a bit of the pancreas here. Okay. So that's okay. That's going to extend on back like this. And okay, that's what the splenic artery is going to do. Mainly run towards the pancreas, spleen. Supply the spleen, but that's okay. On its course, going to give up branches to the pancreas, called the pancreatic artery. At its end, before entering the stomach, the spleen, what the splenic artery was going to do is give off the left gastroepiploic artery. Did you guys get that? Now, if you look here, the common hepatic artery. Now, one branch that the common hepatic artery gave off was the right gastric artery. That's going to, yes, okay, you can say, okay, anastomose with your left gastric artery along the lesser curvature. This fellow here, or what we see of it, is your gastroduodenal artery, which down here is okay, is going to give off what we can call as okay, the right gastroepiploic artery. That's going to meet the left gastroepiploic artery along the greater curvature. Another bond that we may not see here because okay, right here is going to be okay, your duodenum, and so on. So it's going to be okay, the pancreaticoduodenal artery, or the superior pancreaticoduodenal artery. Sorry. Okay, but if you look here as you follow, we can say that this is going to be the hepatic proper artery or proper hepatic artery, and then just give off the left hepatic artery and right hepatic artery that gives off artery to a branch to the gallbladder called the cystic artery. Or if you look here, so gastroduodenal artery, so it gives off the superior pancreaticoduodenal artery, which is going to give off an anterior branch and posterior branch. Okay. Okay, guys, do you want to get your popcorns now or later? Okay. Take a short break. And when you come back, yes, okay, just make sure that, okay, the popcorn are ready. And okay, as we can watch 2 small videos, yes, okay, of the celiac trunk. Okay, good.
I have a question.
Yes, Pam.
Will will coming in late affect my attendance? I just wanted to ask that quick question. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
So see you guys at 11.
Okay, so this is a tutorial on the celiac artery. So I'm going to talk you through the various branches of the celiac artery in this tutorial. So I'm just going to get rid of the venous system, and we'll just look at the arterial system, and we'll focus in on the celiac artery. So we're looking now just at the arterial system, and we're focusing on the abdominal section of the aorta. So the celiac trunk is the first anterior branch of the abdominal aorta, which supplies the foregut structures. So it's just after the aorta perforates the diaphragm at the level of the upper border of the L1 vertebra. So I've just brought some other structures in for reference, and you can see the aorta piercing the diaphragm and the celiac trunk just after this point. And this is at the level of the upper border of lumbar vertebra L1. So the celiac trunk has three branches. You've got the left gastric branch, which is this branch here going upwards, and then you've got the splenic branch, the splenic artery, coming off going towards the spleen to the left, and you've got the common hepatic artery. So those are three branches that come off the celiac trunk. So the celiac artery is, for some reason on this model it's in blue, and I can't change that unfortunately, but it's meant to be red here, so just try and ignore that. So if I zoom in a little further, you might be wondering what these two little arteries here are, and these are actually the inferior phrenic arteries, and their origin is very variable. So they can arise above the celiac trunk, or they can arise from a common trunk, either above the origin of the celiac artery or from the celiac artery itself. So these are the inferior phrenic arteries which supply the diaphragm, and they have a variable origin. So ignore these for this tutorial. We're just going to focus on the branches, the left gastric, the splenic, and the common hepatic artery. So now I'm just going to switch over to some nice diagrams to illustrate the branching of these branches. So just to orientate you a bit, we're looking at the abdominal aorta as it's just passed through the diaphragm, and we've got the celiac trunk coming off immediately after that, and you can see its three branches: the left gastric, the splenic, and the common hepatic. To the right we've got a dissected liver, so you've got a little bit of the left lobe of the liver up here, and the gallbladder is revealed because the liver's been pulled away. On the left we've got the spleen, and we've got the inferior vena cava sitting to the right of the aorta. So first we'll talk about the left gastric artery. So we've got the celiac trunk here, and the first artery coming off it is this artery called the left gastric. And this artery ascends, and it continues upwards here and gives off esophageal branches to the distal part of the esophagus. And then you can see how the artery then sharply curves around like this, and it runs along the lesser curvature of the stomach, and it gives off these branches which supply the surface of the stomach. So the left gastric artery gives off this little branch here, and you can see that it anastomoses with another branch here. So the word anastomose just means joins together. So this artery meets another artery essentially, which comes off another part of the branch of the celiac artery. So this is you could probably guess the name of this artery. This is the right gastric artery, and this anastomoses with the left gastric artery to form this nice little arc which sits on the surface of the lesser curvature of the stomach, and the right gastric artery comes off the common hepatic artery, or the proper hepatic artery. It's fairly variable in its origin. So fairly straightforward so far. left gastric artery is the smallest branch. It ascends upwards and gives off branches, esophageal branches, which supply the distal esophagus, and then it curves around on the lesser curvature of the stomach and anastomoses with the right gastric artery, which comes off the common hepatic artery, which I'll come on to talk about. So I've shown you the vessels which come off and supply the run along the lesser curvature of the stomach, but you can also see that there's a vessel here which runs along the greater curvature of the stomach. So like the vessel which runs along the lesser curvature, this vessel is composed of two vessels which anastomose. So the first vessel I'm going to talk about is the left gastroepiploic artery, and this comes off the splenic artery, which is the next branch of the celiac trunk. So what I'm going to do is we're going to switch to another diagram now, and we're going to flip the stomach up. So just imagine we're going to take the stomach and flip it over to the top, and we're going to look at the splenic artery, and we'll be able to see the pancreas below. So we've just flipped the stomach up, and this is the posterior surface of the stomach. And just to orientate you again, left gastric artery coming off, and you can see its sharp curve round with this branch that runs along the lesser curvature, anastomosing with the right gastric artery coming off the common hepatic or the proper hepatic. And then we've got the splenic artery, and it's got this long tortuous course. And you can see this vessel given off called the left gastroepiploic artery, which is what we saw in the previous diagram, running along the greater curvature. So remember, the stomach is flipped up, so the greater curvature is up here. So just like the left gastric and the right gastric artery, which anastomose on the inferior curvature of the stomach, the left gastroepiploic artery anastomoses with the right gastroepiploic artery, which comes off the gastroduodenal branch, which I'll talk about soon, and hopefully it will all come together and be clear. So the splenic artery is the largest branch of the celiac trunk, and you can see it's got this long tortuous course, and it runs along the top of the pancreas, and you can see these little branches given off to the pancreas. And these little branches supply the neck, the body, and the tail of the pancreas. The head has a different supply, which I'll show you in a moment. So just before the splenic artery enters the hilum of the spleen, it gives off some short vessels, which are called the short gastric arteries, and these supply the fundus of the stomach. So you can see these vessels coming off here, and this area of the stomach is the fundus. So we've got the splenic artery with its branches supplying the neck, the body, and the tail of the pancreas. And then just before it enters the hilum of the spleen, we've got the short gastric arteries, which supply the fundus of the stomach. And then we've got this branch given off called the left gastroepiploic artery. And this anastomoses with the right gastroepiploic artery, and it runs along the greater curvature of the stomach. So obviously, as you can see here, it's got these little branches which are given off, these gastric branches which are given off to both surfaces of the stomach, and it's also got omental branches which descend to supply the greater omentum. So I've just switched back to this diagram with the stomach in its normal orientation. So you've got the splenic artery here, and it's got this long tortuous course, and it enters the hilum of the spleen, and it gives off the little short gastric arteries to the fundus of the stomach, and it also gives off this the left gastroepiploic artery. So obviously this runs behind the stomach, but I'm just drawing on to illustrate. And remember, you've got the little pancreatic branches here given off to the neck, body, and tail of the pancreas. So you can see the left gastroepiploic artery running across here, and the gastric branches supplying both surfaces of the stomach. And you've got these vessels here which descend and supply the greater omentum. So if you remember in my peritoneal tutorial, the greater omentum hangs down in front of the small intestine. So something worth mentioning is that I've been referring to this artery as the gastroepiploic, but you might see it referred to as the gastroomental artery. So worth bearing that in mind. So now we're coming on to the final branch of the celiac trunk. So this is the common hepatic artery, and you can see it here as it comes off the celiac trunk. It turns right, and you've got it has two terminal branches. So it gives off the proper hepatic artery, which goes to the liver, which I'm showing you here, and it's got the gastroduodenal artery, which descends to supply the duodenum and the head of the pancreas. So it also gives off a branch which supplies the surface of the stomach, and we've seen this branch before. It's the right gastroepiploic artery. So it's called the gastroduodenal artery because it gives off a branch to the stomach, the gastro part, and it gives off a branch which supplies the duodenum, so the duodenal part. So it's the gastroduodenal artery. So if you've been listening carefully to this tutorial, you'll know what this branch is here. So this is the right gastric artery, which anastomoses with the left gastric artery. So the origin of the right gastric artery is variable, so it can come off the common hepatic artery, or it can come off the proper hepatic artery. But what you need to know is that it comes off and it runs along the lesser curvature of the stomach and anastomoses with the left gastric artery. So the common hepatic splits into the proper hepatic and the gastroduodenal artery. So let's follow the proper hepatic artery to the liver. So you can see here there's two clear divisions, and there's no prizes for guessing what these two are. So the one on the left is the left hepatic artery, and the one on the right is the right hepatic artery. So this division occurs just before it enters the porta hepatis. So you can also see this little vessel given off, and this comes off the right hepatic artery, and it's called the cystic artery, and it supplies the gallbladder. So you can see the gallbladder, it's a little sac here. So finally we've got to take a look at this other branch of the common hepatic artery, the gastroduodenal artery. So there's no duodenum in this picture, so I'm going to flick over to the other diagram I showed you. So we're looking at this descending branch here, the gastroduodenal artery. So before the gastroduodenal artery descends, it sometimes gives off a branch called the supraduodenal artery, which supplies the top part of the duodenum. So we've got the pylorus here of the stomach, and we've got the duodenum with its C shape sitting around the head of the pancreas. So the first branch we'll look at is this one coming off here, and you can see it curves around the greater curvature of the stomach. So hopefully you will know what this is, because we saw the other one before coming off the left, off the splenic artery, and that was the left gastroepiploic artery. So this branch coming off the gastroduodenal artery is the right gastroepiploic artery, and it anastomoses with the left gastroepiploic artery. So after the next branch of the gastroduodenal artery is the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery. So it's quite a mouthful, but it is very descriptive of what the artery does and where it's located. So it's superior because there's also an inferior one, and it's called pancreatico-duodenal because it supplies the head of the pancreas and also the duodenum. So there is an inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery which comes off the superior mesenteric artery. So like we've seen all these anastomosing vessels, we've seen the left gastric anastomosing with the right gastric on the lesser curvature of the stomach. We've seen the left gastroepiploic and the right gastroepiploic anastomosing on the greater curvature of the stomach. And now we're seeing an anastomosis between the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery and the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery. So the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery comes off the gastroduodenal artery, and it supplies the duodenum and the head of the pancreas, and it anastomoses with the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery, which comes off the superior mesenteric artery. So just to further confuse things, the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery and its inferior counterpart have anterior and posterior branches. So it's not shown in this diagram, but I'm going to draw it on to illustrate it for you. So we're looking at, here we've got the anterior superior pancreatico-duodenal artery, because it lies anterior to the head of the pancreas. But there's also the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery also gives off a posterior branch, which runs behind the pancreas, and then it joins up again with the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery. So just to recap things, you've got the celiac trunk, then you've got the common hepatic artery, which gives off the proper hepatic artery, which sends off branches to the liver and the gallbladder, and then you've got the gastroduodenal artery, which sends off branches to supply the head of the pancreas and the duodenum, as well as this branch supplies the surface of the stomach and anastomoses with a branch from the splenic artery. So the gastroduodenal artery gives off the right gastroepiploic artery, and then it gives off the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery. And the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery gives off branches anteriorly and posteriorly. And these branches unite inferiorly to form the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery, which is given off by the superior mesenteric artery. So that's the branches of the celiac trunk, and I really hope that's cleared things up.
Okay, guys. But that's okay. With that said, that was probably as okay the most we can say complex or complicated part of the structures of your branches of your abdominal aorta. Okay, now let's just continue further. We said it's okay, we had the abdominal aorta. The branch that we just talked about was the celiac trunk. Now the next unpaired branch that we will be talking about is going to be as okay what we call the superior mesenteric artery. Okay. And what I mainly said was that this mainly was going to supply what we call the midgut. Okay. So what did we have in the midgut? Now the midgut was mainly as okay going to be made up of that one last third of duodenum. Then we mainly are going to have, yes, okay, structures like, okay, the jejunum, and we can say ileum. Next was going to be cecum. And again, yes, okay, although we know that, okay, yes, appendix, although not a part of the digestive system, but mainly because it's okay, structurally, it's okay. I mean, it's okay, attached to the cecum, yes, okay. Okay. That's like the spleen was not a part of your digestive system, but it still got its blood supply from the splenic artery, which came off the celiac trunk, which mainly was responsible to supply your foregut. After which we mainly, yes, okay, just have our ascending colon, and last part was going to be the first 2/3 of the transverse colon. So literally speaking, guys, we can mainly say it's okay that we have the duodenum, or we mainly as okay, that's what I was going to be as okay structures like jejunum. We can say it's okay ileum, or it's okay cecum, the ascending colon, and then yes, okay, your transverse colon. Did you guys get that? Now, guys, if we talk of, yes, okay, our celiac, no, sorry, superior mesenteric artery. Now, one branch that it would give off and the main, yes, okay, is going to be going on to the right side. Was going to be what we call the inferior pancreatico duodenal artery. And what you guys must, yes, okay, may realize that, okay, yes, this was going to, yes, okay, anastomose with the superior pancreatico duodenal artery, which in itself, yes, okay, was a branch of the gastroduodenal artery. Okay, what we can mean is that, okay, that last 1/3 of the duodenum, and yes, okay, some of the adjacent parts of the pancreas. is going to be supplied by the figure and create the duodenal artery. Did you guys get that? Now, guys, generally it's okay when it comes to, let's see, the jejunum. And most of your first, or pretty much okay, most of your ileum are going to be supplied by SOK, or mainly SOK called vasa recta. Okay. Now, guys, structurally speaking, yes, okay, if you look at the ileum running, yes, okay, if you look at the, the jejunum and the ileum, okay, just by okay, looking at the intestine itself, you will not be able to say, okay, which part is the ileum, which part is the jejunum. Okay. But we can make this, okay, differentiate it from the pattern of the vasa recta. Now, what is it that this vasa recta here is going to be? Now, if you look at the word vasa, means okay, this comes from the word vas, which would be vessels. The word recta means okay, comes from rect, which is straight. So pretty much okay, the pattern of these vasa recta here is going to okay enable us to say okay differentiate between okay whether this loop is the ileum or the jejunum, or whether this loop here was the ileum or the jejunum. Okay. So, but as you might have seen, it's okay from the that's okay previous diagram. It's okay. That was this. That's okay. Vessel, which means it's okay branch into it's okay this extensive network. Okay. So, oh shit. Okay, sorry. Well, probably it's okay for about one important thing. This superior mesenteric artery here is okay. That's going to just okay branch off the aorta at level L1. Okay. So the superior mesenteric artery is okay, is going to branch off at the aorta at the level of L1, which is going to be okay your first lumbar vertebra. Now, let's just look at, and we can say it's okay, just so we say, okay, we say this here is okay will be, or we eventually it's okay, we'll call it okay the jejunum, and we can say it's okay, this will be it's okay ileum. Which means is okay, we're going to get, let's see, the blood supply from what we call the vasa recta. Okay. Now, guys, all these blood vessels here is okay, they're going to run in between the layers of the peritoneum. Okay. Because there's going to be peritoneum going as okay and crossing all around your small intestine. Now, what these first branches of or actually it's okay will form your vasa recta are going to do is that they're going to form arcs like this. So it means that's okay that it's actually going to be an extensive network of blood vessels which one like this are going to have these arcs. Okay. But then comes a real vasa recta, which are going to be these fellows here. The main is just run off the arcs. Or it's the loops mainly is made by these arteries meeting end to end. So these are going to be what we call the vasa recta. And you see these were straight blood vessels. Okay. And in the jejunum, these vasa recta here is they are going to be long. Did you guys get that? Okay. Whereas when we now get to the jejunal part, okay, yes, okay, it's going to be similar as and say that well, it's joined end to end. Or where we mean is that's okay. Now these will be the vasa recta. But for the ileal part, yes, they are going to be short. Okay. But generally, yes, whatever was the vasa recta, mainly yes, originates off from the superior mesenteric artery. And mainly yes, were responsible for supplying blood to or remaining as it was the remaining part of the small intestine. Okay.
So the vasa recta branches off the superior
Exactly.
message. How do you say that word?
Mesenteric.
Mesenteric artery.
Yes. Okay. But actually, my dear, these here are the vasa recta. Okay. So what we mainly is we said we had the superior mesenteric artery. Of that mainly is branches this, which is going to be as this extensive network of blood vessels. But what they actually will do is loop around like this. I mean, yes, you can say if you call it that this may anastomose with this may anastomose with this, whichever way you want to put it. But I mean, it's going to form these loops here. And of those are going to be this vasa recta, which means will be the strong straight vessels. Okay, but it would not be wrong to say that as of the superior mesenteric artery branches the vasa recta, which as for your jejunum, yes, those vasa recta they were going to be long. For the ileum, you're going to be short. But what we mainly is okay with sure, you can say okay that the vasorector mainly is okay will be responsible for supplying blood to the remaining of the short intestine. Okay. Okay. That falls in your midgut. That last 1/3 of the duodenum that falls into the is okay, or which is a part of the midgut, was supplied by the inferior pancreatico duodenal artery. Okay. There we say it's okay. Will branch off like this. Okay. I mean, it's okay, supply blood to that one last third of the duodenum. And okay, yes, those adjacent parts of the pancreas. But what this inferior pancreatical duodenal artery also did was that it anastomosed with the superior pancreatical duodenal artery, which was a branch of your gastroduodenal artery, which was a branch of your common hepatic artery, which was a branch of the celiac trunk.
And you said the branching is happening at L1, did you say?
No,
Oh,
I said that your superior mesenteric artery. Your superior mesenteric artery. That's branches of the aorta at the level of L1. And what was L1? Lumbar vertebra 1.
thank you.
Did you guys get that? So although yes, okay, a big part of the alimentary canal, and not to talk yes, okay, all this okay, a big part of your yes, okay, midgut. Well, okay, yes, its blood supply is pretty simply as okay explained. Okay. Now, guys, let's just look. So, if we say that this here was your aorta. Okay. Now we could say duodenum, followed by let's say it's okay loops of jejunum. We can say it's okay followed by loops of ileum. And we mean is okay, already said that okay, these were supplied by vasorectum. Yeah. Okay. Which was okay. Mean is okay. Here is it. Superior mesenteric artery. Give off. Or we just call it okay, the vasorectum. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we can then say it's okay. Now, on the right side, is okay. Do we have the cecum? We can also say, okay, now attach the cecum, although not a part of, yes, okay, the digestive system. Do we have the appendix? After which is going to be, okay, let's see. The ascending colon. And followed by the becoming is yes, okay. Phosphorus colon. Now, one last branch mainly that we can say is okay is going to be given off by the superior mesenteric artery. Is going to be as okay what we call the iliopolic artery. Okay. Now, one thing that this will do is give off what we can call the arteries to this area. Meaning yes, okay. Cecal arteries. Meaning yes, okay, supply blood to this region here. And one important branch that is going to be given off from is okay, this iliopolic artery is going to be yes, okay, what we can call the appendicular artery. Pretty much supplying blood to the what you want to call it, your appendix. Now, other branch of your superior mesenteric artery is mainly going to be what we can call the right colic arteries. Oh, this one here. The right colic artery. And if you look at it, it mainly is going to supply blood to the ascending colon. And now if you look at it, it branches off like this, but then it's this extensive network. And there's no doubt about it that yes, these are also going to form a network like that. And pretty much similar to your vasa recta, but we don't call these the vasa recta. So we actually have what you can call it a right colic artery. Okay. Now, slightly superior to that is going to be is going to be what we'll call the middle colic arteries. And that's mainly going to be responsible for supplying blood to the transverse colon. Now, which part of that, or how much of the transverse colon? Mainly is the first 2/3 of the transverse colon. Okay. So again, yes, just like we have for a right colic artery, yes, this is also going to, if you look at it as it branches off, it's going to just throw off a lot of branches. And so and so. And what we mainly can say that these lower branches here will do is meet or unite with or was is your right colic artery. Did that make any sense? Okay. So pretty much is now let's just look at it. Superior mesenteric artery was gave off what we call the inferior pancreatical duodenal artery. Supplies 1/3 of the duodenum. and okay, as adjacent parts of the head of the pancreas. Then it gave off, okay, the vasa recta, mainly as, okay, the name for the blood vessel that was going to supply the jejunum and ileum. So we then have the ileocolic artery. Now, mainly as, okay, is going to supply us, okay, the terminal part of the ileum and primarily as, okay, the cecum. And all of this is going to be an artery that goes and supplies the appendix, called the appendicular artery. After which, we mainly as, okay, have another artery called the right colic artery. Now, in its origin is going to be as, okay, about that of the ileocolic artery. Okay, but from its name, it's going to supply the right part of the colon, which is mainly going to be the ascending colon. And about that is going to be as, okay, another branch origin of your superior mesenteric artery called the middle colic artery, which mainly as, okay, will be responsible for supplying blood to the first 2/3 of your transverse colon. Okay, so although it's, okay, your midgut made up what do you call it, 90%, almost 90% plus of your entire alimentary canal. Well, okay, its blood supply is pretty much, okay, yes, self-explanatory. Or not as complex as we had for as, okay, the celiac trunk, which was a little fellow, but then caused a lot of, okay, yes, a lot of branching with specific names. Any questions, guys?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Or just look here. Okay. So you guys can see the picture, right?
Yes.
So this is your superior mesenteric artery. Okay. You can mainly says, okay, all this here is, okay, is going to be as, okay, your ileum and jejunum. Mainly as, okay, with the vasa recta. We had the ileocolic artery. Okay. Then we had the right colic artery. Okay. So this here is your cecum. This little dude here, that's the appendix. Mainly as, okay, the last part of the ileum and, okay, the first part of your colon or ascending colon. is going to be supplied by the ileocholic artery. Now, please stack all this here is on the right side of the patient. So that's why we have it goes right, or it supplies the right part of the colon. That's why it's going to be referred to as the right colic artery. Okay. But superior to that is still going to be a branch that we'll call the middle colic artery, which is going to supply those first 2/3 of your transverse colon. Because that what falls within, or which is considered to be the part of what we call the mid-gut. Did you guys get that? And now here they haven't shown it, but it's your superior pancreatic duodenal artery would have been somewhere here. Also, inferior pancreatic duodenal artery to supply the last part of the duodenum, and it's they're adjacent parts of the heads of the pancreas. Let me just see. No. Now let's just watch this video, and then you guys can go on lunch.
Okay, so this is a tutorial on the superior mesenteric artery. So we're looking here at a view of the abdominal aorta with the inferior vena cava sitting to the right, and you can see the celiac axis at the top, and just below it you've got an artery coming off anteriorly, and this is the superior mesenteric artery. So just a little bit further down, coming off to the side, we've got the inferior mesenteric artery. So first I'll talk a little bit about the relations of the superior mesenteric artery, and then I'll talk about the branches. So the superior mesenteric artery supplies the midgut. So the midgut is the section of the intestine which runs from the just below the major duodenal papilla to 2/3 of the way across the transverse colon. So what we can see here is that just above the superior mesenteric artery is the celiac artery, and the celiac artery lies at the level of the upper border of L1 lumbar vertebra, and the superior mesenteric artery lies at the lower border of L1 lumbar vertebra. So just underneath it you can see this vein, and this is the left renal vein, and this runs underneath the superior mesenteric artery. And then you've got the superior mesenteric vein, which runs alongside it, just to the right of it. And above the superior mesenteric artery is the splenic vein. So the splenic vein is shown slightly out of place here. It should be shown a little bit further down because it crosses anteriorly in front of the superior mesenteric artery, just about here. So I've just brought some viscera in, and you can see the pancreas sitting on top of it. And again, this is shown slightly out of place. It should be shown a bit to the right of to the left of what it's shown here. So the neck of the pancreas actually sits anteriorly over the superior mesenteric artery. So also at the level of L1 you've got the renal arteries. So you can see these arteries coming off the side of the aorta, just a bit behind the superior mesenteric artery. And one thing to point out also is that the inferior part of the duodenum, so the duodenum has this C shape, and the inferior part of the duodenum actually passes underneath the superior mesenteric artery. So the first branch that comes off the superior mesenteric artery is the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery, and this anastomoses with a branch of the gastroduodenal artery, which comes off the common hepatic artery of the celiac axis. So if you watch the tutorial on the celiac axis, then you'll see how these arteries anastomose. So the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery is the first artery that branches off the superior mesenteric artery. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to a diagram and show you the rest of the branches of the superior mesenteric artery. So we're looking here at a view of the superior mesenteric artery. So you've got the superior mesenteric vein running alongside it to the right, and you've got the pancreas sitting over on top of it. So you can see how these vessels emerge just under the sort of neck of the pancreas. So the first branch you can see here, just after the superior mesenteric artery comes out from underneath the pancreas, is the middle colic artery. I'll come back to talk about the middle colic artery in a moment, but first we'll look at the vessels that come off the left side of the SMA. So you've got jejunal vessels and ileal vessels, and there's lots of these, as you can see. And what you'll notice is that there's these arches or arcades, which are anastomoses between these vessels. So the vessels join together to form these arches or arcades, and you can see that there's a few sort of levels of these arcades. So if you've watched my tutorial on the peritoneal cavity, you'll know that the small intestine is intraperitoneal. So the jejunal and the ileal vessels pass between the two sheets of the mesentery and supply the small intestine. So you've got these anastomoses forming these arcades, and you've got several of these arches, and just right at the end, distally, you've got these straight vessels which supply the surface of the small intestine. So these straight vessels are called vasa recta. So in Latin, vasa means vessels and recta means straight. So you've got vasa recta in the kidney, and it just means straight vessels. So the distal vessels are called vasa recta. So we've taken a look at the blood supply to the jejunum and the ileum, and next we'll move distally and take a look at the next branch of the superior mesenteric artery. So this is called the ileocolic artery, and this is the most distal branch of the SMA. And as you can see here, it has two branches. So the ileocolic branch splits into a superior branch and an inferior branch. So the inferior branch is a bit more complicated because it has 4 branches. But if you think logically of the structures in the right iliac fossa, then you'll be able to remember the names of the structures that the ileocolic artery supplies. So the inferior branch has 4 branches. So what's in the right iliac fossa? You've got the distal ileum, so that's supplied by the ileal branch. You've got the cecum next, which comes after the ileum, so that's supplied by the cecal branch. And you've got the appendix, which comes off here, so you've got the appendicular branch. And you've got at the start of the ascending colon, so you've got a colic branch. So the ileocolic artery has a superior branch which ascends and supplies the ascending colon, but the inferior branch has 4 branches which supply the distal ileum, the cecum, the appendix, and the start, the proximal ascending colon. So moving on to the ascending branch of the superior branch of the ileocolic artery, this supplies the ascending colon, and it anastomoses with a branch that comes off the next branch of the SMA. So if we look at the next branch coming off the superior mesenteric artery above the ileocolic artery, we've got the right colic artery, and this name pretty much describes what this artery does. So colic refers to colon, and right means it's on the right side. So the right side of the colon is the ascending colon. So the right colic artery vascularizes the ascending colon, and again it's got 2 branches. So you've got a descending branch which anastomoses with the superior branch of the ileocolic artery, and you've got an ascending branch which ascends up and anastomoses with the artery above it, which I mentioned at the start. So the middle colic artery has a branch which anastomoses with a branch from the right colic artery. So it's fairly simple. You've got a branch which goes up, so it's ascending, and you've got a branch which goes down, so descending. So the right colic artery supplies the ascending colon. So next we've got the middle colic artery, which is the which emerges on the SMA just after it passes through underneath the pancreas. And like the other two arteries, it splits into two branches, but these are left and right branches because they don't go up or down like the right colic branches or the ileocolic branches. They go left and right, so they're called left and right branches. So the right branch anastomoses with the ascending branch of the right colic artery, and the left branch anastomoses with branch which comes off the left colic artery, and the left colic artery I'll come on to in a tutorial on the inferior mesenteric artery. So the middle colic artery supplies the proximal 2/3 of the transverse colon. So something to point out is that the transverse colon is an intraperitoneal structure. So the branches of the middle colic artery pass into the transverse mesocolon, which wraps around the transverse colon and tethers it to the back, to the posterior abdominal wall. The right colic artery, however, supplies the ascending colon, which you will know is a retroperitoneal structure. So the right colic artery goes retroperitoneal and supplies the ascending colon, but the middle colic artery works its way into the transverse mesocolon because it's an intraperitoneal structure. So I've talked a lot about how these different vessels anastomose. So you've got anastomoses between the right colic, the middle colic, and the left colic artery, and these arteries form a margin around the rim of the large intestine. So these edges of the arcs of these anastomosing arteries are called the marginal artery. So you've got this artery which lines the margin of the large intestine, and it's called the marginal artery.
Okay, guys. So take your lunch break, and when we come back, we just have, let's say, our inferior mesenteric artery and some of those peer arteries to talk a bit about. Okay. So would it be fair if I say that I see you guys back at 1 o'clock?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, thank you, Deb.
Mhm.
Nothing yet?
No.
See.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, the gastroduodenal artery, the inferior branch of it, like the lowest one, is the pancreatic duodenal artery. Like that's the last lower branch.
Last. Well, okay. That will probably not be. Yeah, you can say, okay, the lowest branch. Yeah, lowest would be more correct.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So, okay, let me just see if I can make this a little bit more, let's see, organized. So this was our abdominal aorta. Pass to the foramen here at T12. And pretty much at the very beginning, give off the celiac trunk. And that was okay, as I had. T12 as well. We said next artery was what we call the superior mesenteric artery. And that was a level L1. Now, mainly that's okay as far as our armpit arteries are concerned. We're going to have our last one, which is going to be the inferior mesenteric artery. Inferior mesenteric artery, and as that's going to branch off the aorta at level L1, no, L3, sorry. The third lumbar vertebra, sorry. Okay. And roughly speaking, guys, what this driver here will be responsible to supply birth to was what we call the mind. Sorry, guys. Now I'm missing the mid with the hind. It's going to be the hind gut. Okay. What did we have in the hind gut? Last 1/3 of the transverse colon. The descending colon. The sigmoid, or if you want to call it, the sigmoid colon, that's fine too. And the first 2/3 of the rectum. Yeah.
We need to check some.
Did you guys get that? Okay, so let us just put it this way and say, if this here is was your abdominal aorta. Just so we are on the same page. This would be the right side. And yes, left side. And we had the inferior mesenteric artery. Okay, now just to make a little bit sense what we said. We had of our superior mesenteric artery was mainly a branch that we call the right carotid artery. And that was going to be a branch that we call the middle carotid artery. So we have a right, we have a middle, and that's why we're going to just off your inferior mesenteric artery. Have is what we'll call the left carotid artery. Did you guys get that? So your left carotid artery Now, we put this. It's going to have as okay. What we call as okay, and then ascending branch. And that ascending branch main is going to be responsible for the blood supply of your last 1/3 of the transverse colon. And it will have a because it's a descending branch, which means as okay will supply blood to the descending colon. And if you look here, for instance, up here that will be as okay your transverse colon. So that ascending branch will go up and mean as okay supply the superior last 1/3 of your transverse colon. The descending branch of your left colon or colic artery mainly is okay. I'm responsible for supplying blood to the descending colon. We can also say that branches from this or some of the branches of the ascending branch of the left colic artery will actually is anastomose with those arcades of the middle colic artery. Did you guys get that?
Sorry,
Now,
what did you
guys,
say? Oh, it joins with the what colic artery?
middle colic artery.
Okay.
The ascending branches of your left colic artery. What did they supply? The last 1/3 of your as a transverse colon, right? Okay. The first 2/3 of your transverse colon was supplied by the mid-colic artery. So some branches from your ascending branch of your left colic artery will mean anastomose those arcades may meet with the arcades of the middle colic artery. What are we left with? The sigmoid colon. Okay. So of your inferior mesenteric artery is there going to be what we can call straightforward, a branch called the sigmoidal artery. Okay. Now, guys, the sigmoid, what we may call the sigmoid colon. Not really, mean going to be a more medial extension of your descending colon, and mainly forms this S-shaped gut, and that's mainly why it's called the sigmoid colon. Okay, but that's mainly going to be supplied by what we call the sigmoidal arteries of your which is a branch of your inferior mesenteric artery. Okay. And of course, it will anastomose with branches of your the descending branches of your left colic artery. Did you guys get that? Now, last but not the least is going to be okay. We can say it's the last branch of our inferior mesenteric artery, which will be what we call the superior rectal. I mean, it's just supplying blood to that last part of the first of the hind gut, which is going to be the first 2/3 of the rectum. So this was the rectum, and we divided it into 3 parts. The first 2/3. The first 2 parts of the 3 parts is going to be supplied by the superior rectal artery. Now, when we say superior rectal artery, what should come to your mind? That at some point, there will also be an inferior rectal artery. So guys, pretty much as this was mainly what we could say was the blood supply to the hindgut derived from the inferior mesenteric artery, which branched off the aorta at the level of L3. Okay. So these were our 3 unpaired arteries that branch off our aorta. Did you guys get that?
I'm confused on how the descending colon joins with the middle colic artery. The descending branch.
Not the descending branch. I never said the descending branch. I said the ascending branch of your left colic artery.
So joins with the middle colic artery?
Some of the branches of the ascending branch of your left colic artery will join with the last branches of your middle colic artery.
Oh. Okay, and then as for the descending branch, you didn't even talk about a descending branch, or did you?
I did.
Oh, and that supplies to the descending colon, but it doesn't
Exactly.
join with anything?
Well, it will join, or that will mean that's those arteries will articulate with some of the arteries from your sigmoidal artery.
Okay, I think I got it. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So abdominal aorta. Start at T12. Ends up at L4. by bifurcating into what will become the right common iliac artery. And we can say it's okay, the left common iliac artery. What we already have said was celiac trunk. At T1. Here mesenteric artery at L1. Inferior mesenteric artery at L3. Now, guys, some of our paired arteries. Which mean they're going to be the renal arteries. And the mean is okay, going to branch off at the level of L2. Okay. Now, mostly it's okay, what they will be doing is these renal arteries, yes, okay, will be giving off or we can call this, okay, the suprarenal arteries. Now, guys, another artery. Let's say something, another pair of arteries that's going to branch off the aorta, also at the level of L2, is what we'll call the gonadal arteries. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we said, for instance, if we say, for instance, okay, in the females, these gonadal arteries are going to be relatively short because they're just going to go to the ovaries. Okay. So in the female, yes, okay, this will also be referred to as the ovarian artery. Whereas, on the other hand, if we talk about the male, yes, okay, the gonadal artery is okay, which then will just be referred to as the testicular artery. is going to be long. And that's mainly because it's okay, it has to follow along with the testes through the inguinal canal into the scrotum. Okay, so I mean it's okay, so tick 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 tick, so it goes longer and longer and longer as the testes descends. Did you guys get that? Okay, now if you get a diagram, you don't have to write testicular or ovarian artery. Gonadal artery would be sufficient, because on a diagram you will not be able to say whether this is the blood vessels of a male or a female. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Now, Vietnamese says, okay, now our main artery of interest is going to be the renal arteries. Now, let us just look at that. So, right, left of the abdomen. And the abdomen on the left side is it that we have is okay, the abdominal aorta, in which yes, okay, the blood mainly runs this way, because up here is okay, is the heart. Okay. Or remaining, I say is okay, that at the vertebral level, and just say it's okay. L2, well, okay, that's where we will have the renal arteries. Let's just choose a different color. So this one here is okay, it's going to be the left renal artery. Now, guys, on the right side in the abdomen, or we can say on the right side of the abdominal aorta, is going to be, yes, okay, the major vein in the abdomen, which is going to be the inferior vena cava. Okay, now we will talk a little bit about, yes, okay, this one here tomorrow, but for now, just keep in mind, okay, yes, this is mean it's okay, going to be bringing blood, back to the heart, right? Okay, right. Bringing blood back to the heart from where? Mainly it's okay from your legs, your feet and your toes and all that, but also it's okay from the abdominal organs, abdominal pelvic organs, right? Okay, But that's going to be okay on the right side of your aorta. Okay, which mainly cause that, okay, we can say, okay, if this here is going to be as okay, the left kidney, right? We can actually say that, okay, the right kidney is going to be somewhere over here. And what we mainly can say is, of course, okay, it's also going to have its own renal artery. But that renal artery is going to run posterior to the inferior vena cava. Which means it's okay that this is going to be the right renal artery. Even yes, okay, if you also look at it, we can say it's okay that the left renal artery is short. Whereas comparatively, yes, okay, your right renal artery is going to be long. Why would the left renal artery be short? Well, okay, artery, yes, okay, branches off the aorta, but the left kidney is right there. Why is the right renal artery going to be longer? Because it's okay, it has to pass, I guess it's okay, across the width of your inferior vena cava to reach to the kidney. So that means, okay, makes it long. But please keep in mind, guys, okay, the right renal artery is going to be running posteriorly to the inferior vena cava. Did you guys get that? Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, since we are at it, let's just talk a bit about it. Okay, the renal veins. So we can say this will be your left renal vein. Oh, sorry, right renal vein. And he or she is going to be short. Why? The inferior vena cava into which it is going to drain blood into is right there, next to it. Whereas if we talk of the left renal vein is going to be long. First of all, it's okay. It's going to be long. The other thing is that it's going to run anterior to the abdominal aorta. And then empty into the inferior vena cava. Did you guys get that?
I missed what you said about the rectum artery. Does the sigmoid
Superior rectal
branch off?
artery. Yeah, what about it?
I missed what you said, how it does it branch off from the sigmoid or
No, it branches off the inferior mesenteric artery.
okay.
Oh. Okay, guys, you have your snacks ready? Okay, guys. Let's look. So just about as okay, the inferior mesenteric artery, and then we can see a short video of the renal arteries.
So this tutorial is on the inferior mesenteric artery, and this kind of follows on from the previous tutorial I did on the superior mesenteric artery. So the inferior mesenteric artery is this artery right at the bottom here, and this comes off anteriorly on the abdominal aorta and slightly to the left. So above it you've got the superior mesenteric artery, and you've got the celiac axis, which supply the other gut structures. So the inferior mesenteric artery originates on the aorta at roughly the level of lumbar vertebra L3. So remember, the aorta bifurcates at L4, so just a little bit above this you've got the inferior mesenteric artery. So the inferior mesenteric artery vascularizes the hindgut structures, and I'll just switch to a diagram to illustrate some of its branches. So we're looking here at a diagram which shows the abdominal aorta, and you can see the inferior mesenteric artery coming off here. This vessel on the right is the superior mesenteric artery, and you can see it vascularizing the ascending colon, the transverse colon, and the small parts of the small intestine here. So the inferior mesenteric artery has three main branches. The first branch is this one here that comes off at the top. It's the left colic artery, and you can see it divides into this ascending branch and descending branch. So the ascending branch ascends to anastomose with the right branch of the middle colic artery. So the ascending branch vascularizes part of the descending colon, and it then goes intraperitoneal into the transverse mesocolon and vascularizes the distal third of the transverse colon. So the descending branch descends along the descending colon and sends off branches to supply the descending colon, and it anastomoses with the next branch down. So just below the left colic artery, you've got several vessels which come off the inferior mesenteric artery, and these are the sigmoidal arteries, and you've got quite a few of these. So these form these arcades, and they vascularize the distal part of the descending colon, and as the name suggests, the sigmoid colon as well. So these vessels enter the sigmoid mesocolon to supply the sigmoid colon and the lowest parts of the descending colon. So the last branch we've got is the superior rectal artery. So this is the terminal branch of the inferior mesenteric artery, and it supplies the distal part of the sigmoid colon, and as the name suggests, it supplies the proximal rectum. So I'll switch over to the 3D model and show you the course that the superior rectal artery takes. So we're looking here at a model with the skeleton and also the artery. So I haven't got the veins in this model. So the inferior mesenteric artery can be seen here at the level of lumbar vertebra L3. You've got the left colic artery coming off first, and then you've got these various sigmoidal arteries, and then distally you've got this terminal branch. So this is the superior rectal artery, and it crosses over the common iliac vessels. So the veins aren't in this model, but the inferior vena cava and the common iliac vein would be seen here. So the superior rectal artery actually crosses over these vessels and it enters the pelvic cavity. So I've just brought in the viscera and I'm going to rotate round to the back, and you can see this is the superior rectal artery coming over the end of the colon and towards the rectum, and you can see that it splits into these two branches and it descends down the sides of the rectum. So you can see that here. So I've just brought back in this skeleton, and if I zoom in a little bit further, you can see, so this is the superior rectal artery, and you can see that it divides here, and this is the level of S3. So you can see the body of S3 lies at the level where the superior rectal artery splits into its two divisions. So that's the inferior mesenteric artery. So it comes off at lumbar vertebra level L3, and it's got three main branches. It's got the left colic artery, which has an ascending and descending branch. The ascending branch ascends retroperitoneally and it supplies the descending colon. It then enters into the transverse mesocolon to supply the distal third of the transverse colon. The descending branch goes inferiorly and supplies the lower part of the descending colon, and it anastomoses with the sigmoid arteries. So the sigmoid arteries, there's quite a few of these which come off below the left colic artery, and these supply the sigmoid colon obviously, and the right at the distal part of the descending colon. And then finally we've got the superior rectal artery, which supplies the distal sigmoid colon and the proximal rectum, and it has two branches. So it splits at the level of this body of S3, and it crosses from the abdominal cavity into the pelvic cavity. So that's the inferior mesenteric artery.
Okay, guys. Now let's just see. I should have something for the renal arteries. Last bites of popcorn.
So the blood supply to the kidneys is by the renal arteries and veins. So it's supplied by the renal artery and drained by the renal vein. So what we're looking at here is the abdominal aorta, and we've got the inferior vena cava. So you can see the renal arteries coming off the abdominal aorta, just below the level of the superior mesenteric artery. So this trunk here coming off the abdominal aorta is the superior mesenteric artery, and just above it we have the celiac axis, which for some reason has a little bit of blue in it, but it is an artery. So the renal arteries come off just below the level of the superior mesenteric artery, laterally off the aorta. And it's important to note that the right renal artery is actually longer than the left. So if I rotate the model right round, you can see that the right renal artery has to pass behind the inferior vena cava, so it's a little bit longer than the left one, which doesn't have to travel this distance. So just as the arteries are approaching the hilum of the kidney, they actually split into two branches. So you've got an anterior and a posterior branch. So this is just a little diagram to show the anterior and posterior branches. So you can see the split here of the renal arteries as it approaches the hilum. So just important to note that. So the renal veins sit in front of the renal arteries. So it's opposite to the arteries. So the left renal vein is longer because it obviously has to pass in front of the aorta. So the left renal vein passes in front of the abdominal aorta and underneath the superior mesenteric artery. And the right renal vein is a little bit shorter because it doesn't have to travel across the aorta. So the order of the structures passing into the hilum from anterior to posterior is vein, artery, and ureter.
Wow.
Hi there, my name's Ruben, and today we're going to have a look at the abdominal aorta. I'm going to quiz you as we move through so that you can learn it yourself. Here we have it. Let's divide it up into sections according to which vertebra each portion overlies. Right up the top, what do we have branching off? The first arteries are paired, and they supply the muscle that the aorta has just popped through. That would be the diaphragm, so this is the inferior phrenic artery. Next, at T12, the artery that supplies all the organs at the top of the abdomen. It comes from the ancient Greek word for belly. It is the celiac trunk. What three main arteries does it send off? One that follows a coiled path over the pancreas, the splenic artery. One which goes straight to the stomach, the left gastric artery. And one which runs to the liver, the common hepatic artery. Off the splenic artery, we have two main arteries that supply the stomach, the short gastric and left gastroepiploic arteries. Off the left gastric artery, we have branches to a structure that runs parallel to the aorta, then runs into the stomach. These are esophageal branches. From the common hepatic, we have three branches. 1, the proper hepatic. 2, the gastroduodenal, and 3, the right gastric. From the gastroduodenal, we have the right gastroepiploic and superior pancreatico-duodenal. The main branches of the abdominal aorta run down in the order CSI. C for celiac, S for superior mesenteric artery at the level of L1. First of all, it gives off arteries for the second section of the small intestine. These have few arcades and long vasorecta. They are the jejunal arteries. Next, with many arcades and short vasorecta, we have the ileal arteries. We then have one branch that goes up and finishes the work of the common hepatic. This is the inferior pancreatico-duodenal. Next, the first two parts of the large intestine are supplied. we have the middle colic and right colic arteries. The superior mesenteric artery is a loop, and the loop is completed by the arteries supplying the stuff in the lower right corner of the abdomen. This is the ileocolic artery. Next up, L2. From L2, we have two major arteries branching straight from the aorta. First up, the renal arteries, which has the inferior suprarenal coming off it. The superior infrarenal comes off the inferior phrenic, just so you know. Next, we have the arteries to supply our testes and ovaries, the gonadal arteries. Okay, L3. This must be where our last criminal hops off. Remember CSI? This is the inferior mesenteric. It supplies everything in the lower abdomen that the superior mesenteric didn't. We've covered the right and middle colon, so here we have first the left colic artery. So what comes after the descending colon, which is the left side of the large intestine? The sigmoid colon, thus the sigmoid branches we've got here. Last but certainly not least, we have the end of the abdominal GIT covered. This is the superior rectal artery. At L4, I've included an artery that we see in 4 different pairs along the abdominal aorta. They run back on the bodies of the vertebrae behind that vessel. These are the lumbar arteries. They are paired arteries. The last thing we see here is at L4, the bifurcation of the aorta, splitting in two to become the common iliac arteries. So, how did you go? Have another crack, and before you know it, it'll be as easy as ABC or CSI. All right, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.
CSI. Okay, guys. So that was the abdominal aorta. Or what we need to know from that. Okay. So ladies, that's what's left. So tomorrow we talk about the arterial supply of the leg and the venous drainage of the leg. And then we talk a bit about how our inferior vena cava is made, how the superior vena cava is made, and how blood drains back into the heart. Did that make sense? Okay. Now, guys, just to have as a little bit of understanding of blood supplies to the leg, make sure that you know not all those crazy details around the elbow and the arm, but a little bit about the upper extremity. Okay. So it's going to be a similar pattern, if you want to put it that way, that we may come across to some extent. Okay, guys. So I'll be sending out the email with the notes, so you have them handy, along with some diagrams as well. Okay. Sounds like a deal.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome, my dear. Okay. Have a nice day and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Professor?
Just a sec, dear.